All right. Did you revise the chapter? Did you all go through the chapter today? You remember what we have studied in the beginning of carbon, an important element? Thank you so much for doing that. I'm good. Thank you. I'll ask questions, but unfortunately, I won't be able to get the answers. Really, Daniel, thank you so much. Okay, great. Now I really feel like we should meet in the classes live, right? I also am not liking this online classes, but we are forced. Let's see what happens next now. After this 1st of December, again, new things are going to come up. New changes are going to start. Yes, Daniel, I also like chemistry a lot. I'm sorry, I like this carbon chapter a lot. Yes. Thank you, Nidhi. So all my very good and really sweet students sitting out there who are listening to me and not sleeping on their couches, sitting upright in a proper position, and let us quickly begin. So talking about carbon, an important element, we spoke about why carbon is so important in our daily life. Then what makes carbon so unique? How does it share its 4 electrons, that is being tetravalent, and covalent bond is a bond formed by sharing of electrons. Apart from that, we also discussed about carbon occurs in nature in free state and combined state. Do you remember all this? In the free state, that is what we are talking about, diamond, graphite, and fullerenes. And in the combined state, we have in the form of carbonates, in the form of fossil fuels, in the form of carbonaceous nutrients and natural fibers. All right. Then we spoke about allotropy. Do you remember the definition of allotropy? What can you tell me in short about allotropy? Come on, tell me quickly. What does allotropy mean? What's the meaning of allotropes or allotropy? Can you define that for me? Yes, who's going to read? Yes, Kaushiki, it is different physical properties. Very good. Occurs in more than one form. Very good. Result, some elements occur in nature. Okay. Which forms are same, Arya? Very good, Ashna. Elements whose physical properties are different, but chemical properties are same. Okay, now the answers are really coming very quick. I can't take out names, but everybody is answering this question. Thank you so much that you all have learned the definition of allotropy. The definition says some elements occur in nature in more than one form. The chemical properties of these different forms are same, but the physical properties are different. So under allotropy, we have two types, crystalline form and non-crystalline form. Under crystalline form, we are studying this first topic of diamond, which I believe we have already discussed about the structure of diamond, isn't it? In every carbon atom is bonded to 4 other neighboring carbon atoms by covalent bond. Therefore, it makes a tetragonal 3-dimensional structure. Under the structure of diamond, I assume that we have already covered the topic of structure. That is, it is a tetragonal 3-dimensional structure. 3-dimensional because it sees the same from all 3 sides. Tetragonal means one carbon attached to 4 other carbon atoms in such a way that one carbon is at the top and 3 are at the base. Moving ahead, after the structure of diamond, let's talk about the properties of diamond. Now, diamond, my dear student, it's a brilliant and pure diamond is the hardest natural substance. The density of diamond is 3.5 grams per centimeter cube. The melting point of diamond is 3500 degrees Celsius. When diamond is heated at 800 degrees Celsius, what do you think is going to happen when I heat this diamond? What do you think is going to be formed? अगर हम diamond को heat करेंगे तो वो क्या बना सकता है? What do you think? Very good. Carbon dioxide. Very nice. Because diamond is made up of carbon, right? It combines with oxygen in the air and forms a gas called as carbon dioxide gas, which is given out. So when diamond is heated at 800 degrees Celsius in the presence of oxygen, carbon dioxide is given out. And in this process, only carbon dioxide will be given out. No other byproducts will be formed, isn't it? और कोई भी product बन सकता है क्या? नहीं. Why not? Because only carbon and oxygen are present here. And diamond does not dissolve in any of these solvent. Acids and bases also have no effect on diamond. And one more important point, a diamond is a bad conductor of electricity as it does not have any free electrons. Just a minute. Okay, yeah, I know Aarti started, so that will just give me a minute, please. So these are the properties of diamond which we need to know by heart because it's very important. Under diamond, graphite and fullerenes, you're going to learn structure, properties and uses. Structure we have already studied. Diamond is the having a tetragonal three-dimensional structure. Come on, quickly everyone. Nobody is going to write anything today. Everybody is going to repeat after me. We are not going to do any writing work, means we'll do but a little bit, but not now. We are only going to repeat because only repetition is going to help us to learn the answers. So quickly everyone, first point, what's the first point? Come on. Under properties, the first point is brilliant and pure diamond is the hardest natural substance. Once again, brilliant and pure diamond is the hardest natural substance. Come on quickly, next point. The density of diamond is 3.5 grams per centimeter cube. Once again, the density of diamond is 3.5 grams per centimeter cube. Come on, louder. Everybody around you should know we are under a chemistry lecture today. Melting point of diamond is 3500 degrees Celsius. Once again, the melting point of diamond is 3500 degrees Celsius. Very good. What's the fourth point? Come on. When diamond is heated at 800 degrees Celsius in the presence of oxygen, carbon dioxide is given out. In this process, there is no other byproduct besides carbon dioxide being formed. Fifth point, diamond does not dissolve in any solvent. Fifth point, diamond does not dissolve in any solvent. Sixth point, acids and bases have no effect on diamond. Acids and bases have no effect on diamond. Seventh point, diamond is the bad conductor of electricity as it does not have any free electrons. Diamond is the bad conductor of electricity as it does not have any free electrons. All right. Did you all went through the properties of diamond? Is it clear? Did you repeat after me? Tell me the truth. Did you all repeat after me? Very good. Very nice. So we are through. See, it is not that you have to write the exact words which are given in the textbook, but definitely the points should be covered. At least 5 of these points you should know by heart. उसमें से कितना simple points भी है that you can learn. So I think the answer of diamond is already learned to all of us. Let's try to read now, say without looking at the PowerPoint. Yes, Arya, we'll come to that when we speak about uses. Okay, so I'm not showing anything now. Let me see how many of you can give me the answer without looking at the PowerPoint. So come on, one by one, quickly tell me what are the properties of diamond. Okay, Niti, no problem. Hardest substance, very good. First thing we've got already, that is brilliant and pure diamond is the hardest substance known to mankind. Second point, density, thank you Suzanne, is 3.5 grams per centimeter cube. Very nice. Third point, melting point of diamond is 3500 degrees Celsius. Very nice. Fourth point, come on, come on. What's the fourth point? CO2 is given out, okay? In the shortcut, I accept your answer. When it is heated at 800 degrees Celsius, carbon dioxide is given out. And the next one is diamond does not dissolve in any solvent. Very good, very good. After that, acids and bases, okay, Daniel. Then we have diamond does not have any change. Bad conductor, okay, Aditi. No effect. Very good, Vinayak. All right. So I've got a lot of answers. So my students have already by-hearted the properties of diamond. Let us quickly move to the uses of diamond. Before I move to the uses, at least few uses you can tell me, isn't it? कुछ uses तो तुमको आते ही होंगे. Okay, Jay, I am sorry. Ornaments, jewelry. Okay, the most common one, we know the ornaments. Where have you heard about this diamond called as Kohinoor? Movies में देखा है हमने, पर कभी real में तो नहीं देखा है, right? Kohinoor के बारे में सुना है सबने? Yes, let's just have a small talk about this Kohinoor. Once upon a time, India was very famous for the Kohinoor diamond. This diamond was found in the 13th century in the mine at Guntur, that is Andhra Pradesh. Its weight was 186 carats. This is how the weight was done. And it's a very precious diamond because of the cuts which it is going to have. And that is how we term it as 186 carats. And I don't know whether the Kohinoor is still with us or not. There are a lot of conspiracies behind this diamond. We're not going to go into that. So we move to the uses of diamond. The first use we already know that it's used machines. Yes. Have you heard about this? Diamonds are used in glass cutting and rock drilling machines. At the tip, we have this Diamond place, which is used to cut the knives. I'm sorry, cut the glass. See here, you can see in the slide. अब ये direct cut ही बताया, इसमें हम लोग ने drilling नहीं बताया. The tip contains a diamond. Next one. This is the drilling machines where also we have diamond. Diamonds are used in ornaments, the most common which everybody knows. Everybody can write this answer easily. Diamonds are used in ornaments. So beautiful. Yes, definitely they're expensive. No, Pratika, no, that can't be so expensive. We need to do that, no, because it helps us doing it more quicker and more precise. Diamond knives are used in eye surgery. Have you ever heard about this? Diamond knives are used in eye surgery because the precision with the help of diamond is very nice. So one more new thing you got to learn today is diamond knives are used in eye surgery. Apart from that, one more thing, diamond dust is used for polishing other diamonds. Diamond dust is used for polishing other diamonds. Correct, Shruti, correct. Yes, you're correct, Jay. Diamond is also used to make windows, giving protection from radiations in space and in artificial satellites. So this is one more use of diamond, which is used to make windows for the spacecrafts, which are giving protection from radiations in space and in artificial satellites. So quickly again, the first thing what we know, you don't have to write anything. Everything is there in the textbook and nicely given in point-wise manner. So we are not wasting time on writing. We are only going to revise it again and again so that we get the concepts clear. Not concepts clear. I want the answer to be learned in the live class itself. Online lecture में ही हम आंसर बाहर कर लेंगे. So what are the uses of diamond? Let's start with the first point. Diamonds are used in glass cutting and rock drilling machines. Second point, diamonds are used in ornaments. Third point, diamond knives are used in eye surgery. Fourth point, diamond dust is used for polishing other diamonds. Fifth point, diamond is used to make windows, giving protection from radiation in space and in artificial satellites. Very good. Learn हो गया सबको? You want to see the graphics again? Why? Okay. Is it by heart to everyone now? 5 points याद हो गया? सबको याद है? Let me check one by one. Who is going to answer me first? What am I going too fast with these or what? I think these are easy questions. No, you all can answer them. Isn't it? First point क्या था? Very good. Diamond is used in glass cutting. Very nice. Rock drilling machines. Before I can see, already people are answering so much. Diamonds are used in, okay. All right. Second point is diamond is used as ornaments. Very good. Third point is diamonds are used in eye surgery. Very nice. Very good. Fourth point. Very good, Jagtap. Diamond dust is used for polishing other diamonds. Very quick. Fifth point. Very nice, Smith. Diamond is used in space, in satellite. What is it used? To make the windows. What are the use of the windows? What do they give protection against? Protection against what? Radiation. Very good result. Protection against radiation. So these are the 5 uses of diamond, which all my students have already learned by heart. Very well. So we have already done under the crystalline form, the first structure that was diamond. We've learned its structure, we've learned its properties. Now we've learned its uses as well. Now let's move to the next part, the next free state of carbon. As under allotropes of carbon, under crystalline form, we've studied that 3 crystalline allotropes. We've covered diamond. The next thing which we're going to do today is graphite. Graphite is again simple, but first let us try to understand the structure very nicely. If you understand the structure, properties and uses become very simple. So the graphite, which is somehow looks like this. Graphite is found in the natural state in Russia, New Zealand, America, and India. The lead used in the pencil, especially the lead which we are talking about, no, it's not plain graphite, it is mixed with clay. And this process was discovered by Nicholas Jacques Conte in 1795. This process was discovered by Nicolas Jacques Conte in 1795. Keep this in mind, students. The pencil lead which we use is actually graphite, but which is mixed with clay. And this process was discovered by Nicolas Jacques Conte in 1795. Let's see the structure of graphite now. Now in the structure of graphite, you all have to observe the blue color dots. Can you all see the blue color dots here? These blue color dots are resembling the carbon atom. They are all carbon atom. And if you observe one carbon atom, let me see this. ये जो मेरा mouse का cursor है, this carbon is attached to one at the top, one adjacent to it too, and the third one goes at the bottom. Can you see here? So here this one carbon is attached to 3 carbon atoms. Similarly, if I take this carbon, if you observe the screen carefully, students, this carbon, here 1 here, 2 here, and the third one here. So if you observe any carbon in the structure of graphite, one carbon atom is bonded to 3 carbon atoms. And because it is bonded to 3 carbon atoms, it gives rise to a hexagon. It gives rise to a hexagon. Can you all see this? 3 and 3 here. A 6-sided figure is called as a hexagon. So because of this, it gives rise to a hexagon layered structure. Layered because see, this is one layer on the top. Then I have the second layer here. Similarly, there is third layer and fourth layer. In this way, there are layers. And there are sheets of layers one above the other. That they slip on each other on applying pressure. And one more thing. Now, graphite, in case of graphite, tell me one thing. We know the valency of carbon is 4, right? Riddhi, I'll show you a little later. Please now concentrate on this. In the structure of graphite, talking about carbon, one carbon is attached to 4 carbon, right? One carbon should have 4 valency because carbon is tetravalent. But in the structure of graphite, one carbon is attached to only 3. What happens to the one free electron? That one free electron is still inside the structure only, no, which is not combined with anything. That free electron is used for conducting electricity. That is why graphite becomes a good conductor of electricity. Very nice, Daniel. That is why it becomes a good conductor of electricity. Every carbon atom in graphite is bonded to 3 other carbon atoms in such a way that a hexagonal layered structure is formed. So the structure of graphite is called as hexagonal layered structure. And a graphite crystal is made up of many sheets or layers of carbon atoms. These layers slip over each other on applying pressure. One layer of graphite is called as graphene. If you see the yellow color, I have highlighted it so that these are the words which you need to keep in your mind. And VK Sami, you're looking very good. Now, will you concentrate on the slide, please? Thank you. So we were talking about graphite. In the structure of graphite, one carbon is attached to how many carbon atoms? Come on, quickly. 3. Very good. Because it is attached to 3 carbon atoms, what is the structure called as? What is the structure of graphite called as? Hexagonal layered structure. Hexagonal layered structure. And one layer of graphite is called as? One layer of graphite is called as? Graphene. Very good. One layer of graphite is called as graphene. So this is how structure of graphite looks like, which is also making, and the bond which you see here, जो एक layer और दूसरे layer को जो bond connect कर रहा है, the long bonds. Can you all see these bonds? The long ones. These bonds, no, are very weak. These bonds are weak because of which the graphite is easily breakable. Graphite को easily तोड़ सकते हैं ना हम लोग. Vivan DN Nagar, will you please switch off your video? Don't force me to throw you out of the class, please. Did you all understand the bonds which are here between the layers, 2 layers? That is very weak. So it is very easy to break the bonds. That is why they are brittle. Are you getting my point? So this is about the structure of graphite is. Now let's do a simple experiment to understand the properties and uses of graphite. So let's try a small experiment. So apparatus are pencil, electrical wires, battery, small bulb, water, kerosene, and lead pencil and test tubes. These are the stuff which I'm going to use to make the setup. Let's see what the setup looks like. Remove the lead from the pencil and feel it with your finger. What color is it, students? And try to break the lead with your hand. Gray and grayish black, you can say, right? It's a grayish black kind of a thing. Try to break the lead with your hand. Can you do that? Yes. Now let's assemble the apparatus as shown in the diagram and start the electric current, and let us see what do we observe here. As you all can see, I am going to check the flow of electric current through graphite. I have used two clips, two pencil leads connected with the clips. Then there's a bulb, there's an electric flow. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think the bulb will glow or not? Will the bulb glow in this setup? Yes. If the bulb is glowing, what is it indicating us? That graphite is a good conductor of electricity. What does this experiment help us to understand? That graphite is a good conductor of electricity. And we already know it is a good conductor. Why? Because we have seen in the structure that there's one electron free, which can easily conduct electricity. Isn't it? All right, very good. So let's do one more thing. Take some water in a test tube and take some kerosene in another test tube. I have taken water in one test tube. No, that's not H, that's carbon only. Kerosene in another test tube. Then I'm going to add lead dust in both the test tubes. Let's see what's going to happen. What do you think going to happen? Will the lead dissolve in water and kerosene? Will it float? Will it not dissolve? Will effervescence come out? What do you think is going to happen? I put it in water. The next step I'm going to do is put it under kerosene. Let's see what happens next. So you all are giving me your answers. What did you find? Unfortunately, we are not able to do this experiment, but at least theoretically we can understand that lead does not dissolve in water, nor does it dissolve in kerosene. It does not dissolve in any of these solvent, students. It does not dissolve in most of the solvents. It will remain floating or it will remain away from the substance. So from this experiment, we came to know that graphite does not dissolve easily in water, nor as well as in kerosene. Yes. So let's talk about properties of graphite. Graphite found in nature is black, soft, brittle, and slippery. This we have already known. Inside each layer of graphite, we have seen that free electrons move continuously within the entire layer. Due to the layered structure, graphite can be used for writing on paper, and the density of graphite ranges from 1.9 to 2.3 grams per centimeter cube, and graphite does not dissolve in most of these solvents. Come on, repeat everyone quickly. Who's going to repeat first? What are the properties of graphite? So we were talking about properties of graphite, and quickly, come on everyone. If your teacher doesn't repeat, I'm pretty sure you're not repeating. Graphite found in nature is black, soft, brittle, and slippery. Black, soft, brittle, and slippery. Second point, inside each layer of graphite, free electrons move continuously. Free electrons move continuously. And due to the layered structure, graphite can be used for writing on paper. Due to the layered structure, it is used for writing on paper. Very good. And the density of graphite is 1.9 to 2.3 grams per centimeter cube. 1.9 to 2.3 grams per centimeter cube. So out of context, can you tell me what was the density of diamond? Yes, Sivasri, you can definitely. What was the density of diamond? Very good, Rishika. You were able to answer my question quickly. Vaishnavi also answered. and Kaushiki, Sivasri, a lot of students now, sorry. Anaida, okay, very good. 3 point Farhan Sai also, Parth also. Ria, 3.5 grams per centimeter cube. Mubarak, yes. Nidhi, correct. And for graphite, it is 1.9 to 2.3 grams per centimeter cube. Graphite does not dissolve in most of the solvents. So with this, we finish with the properties of graphite. Now we move to the uses of graphite. Uses of graphite. Who is going to tell me use? Anyone use, you know? जो एक हम कब से डिस्कस कर रहे हैं. We have been repeating it again and again. What is the use of graphite? Pencil lead. Very good. So the use of graphites are used for making lubricants. You know what are lubricants? Have you heard about lubricants? Lubricants are the ones that are used to reduce friction, usually used in cars and everything. They used to reduce friction. So we use lubricants. Graphite is used for making carbon electrodes. Why do we make electrodes? Because they are good conductor of electricity. So they are used for making carbon electrodes. Graphite is also used in pencils for writing, the most common example which we've been discussing. Then graphite is used in paints and polishes. In paints and polishes also we have graphite, and graphite is also used in arc lamps which give very bright light. These are the arc lamps which give us very bright light where we use graphite. So quickly, now let's start with the uses of graphite. You don't have to say graphite is used, graphite is used. We can simply say graphite is used in making lubricants, carbon electrodes, pencils for writing, in paints and polishes, and in arc lamps which gives us a very bright light. You can use it anywhere. It's a basic lamp. Once again, come on, without seeing now. Let me see. Without seeing. Quickly, quickly. Graphite is used in first one. Lubricants, very good. Carbon electrodes, very nice. Pencils for lead. And paints and polishes, very good. And one more, one more. Arc lamps, very good, which gives us very bright light. So we've done with already two allotropes of carbon, which are diamond and graphite. We studied their structure, properties, and uses. Now we move to the third type. I hope I am not moving fast because I'm assuming these are just learning parts which we need to repeat again and again. So we move to the third part, that is our fullerenes. This is something new to all of us, is it? Have you heard about fullerenes? You have any idea what exactly is the meaning of fullerenes? Kahan use hota hai, kya hota hai? Okay, so I have a no. Okay, we have never heard about fullerenes before. So let's try to understand fullerenes today. Fullerenes, my dear student, is an allotrope of carbon, and it is rarely found in nature. It is usually found in soot and interstellar space. अभी interstellar space तो जाने दो, हम नहीं देख सकते, but soot is the one which we can see. Soot is the one which we can see. You know what is soot? SOOT stands for okay, the carbon dust. No, sometimes when you're trying to burn coal or carbon substances, can you see the black colored vapor coming out of it from your hands? Also sometimes turn black. Yes, the kind of a chimney stuff, you can say. That black color is the soot, and it is found in very rare quantities in soot and in interstellar space. The first example of fullerene is Buckminster fullerene. It's a Buckminster fullerene which is containing 60 carbon atoms. Buckminster fullerene which is containing 60 carbon atoms. This allotrope of carbon is named as fullerene after the architect named as Richard Buckminster Fuller, because he designed the geodesic dome. You know what? There was an architect whose name was Buckminster Fuller. He had designed he was an architect who had designed the churches which has the dome on top. And dome ka structure banane ke liye, it is not an easy structure. He used his brains to alternately arrange the hexagons and pentagons together. 6-sided figure, 5-sided figure were arranged in such a way that we created a dome, just like your football. Buckminster Fuller is the name of the architect, Richard Buckminster Fuller. And because he designed the geodesic dome and fullerenes resemble that kind of a structure, that is why the name of fullerene, the first example of fullerene becomes Buckminster fullerene. Have you all seen the football? I'm pretty sure. एकदम common अगर उसको relate करना है fullerenes को, तो we can take the example of a football. Just how see the football looks like, the same way fullerenes also look. So to understand the structure of fullerenes, let's see. See here. Can you see the structure of fullerenes? See, this is how the structure of football looks like, isn't it? There's an alternate hexagon and pentagon arrangements. This is how 60 carbon atoms, 70 carbon atoms, 80 carbon atoms, different carbon atoms combined together to give us different structures of fullerenes. No, we can't play football with it. A very wrong question. The three main scientists who have given us more detailed answers about this fullerenes are Harald Kroto, Robert Kurl, Richard Smalley. Come on, repeat after me. Harald Kroto, Robert Kurl, and Richard Smalley. Very important name in the field of fullerenes. Were given the Nobel Prize in, actually it's recent only, 1996, because of the discovery of carbon allotrope, that is fullerene C60. So as you can see, it's a recent discovery. A lot of research is going on that still. But the three main persons who were awarded Nobel Prize for this was, yes, they're also known as buckyballs. Yes, you're correct. Harald Kroto, Robert Kurl, and Richard Smalley for the discovery of this carbon allotrope of C60. Another examples of carbon allotropes are C60, C70, C76, C82, 86 are the other examples of fullerenes. These molecules also occur in very small numbers in soot. So did you understand a little bit about fullerenes? It's all imagination because we are not able to actually see it. See, diamond and graphite was easy to understand because you could see it live. You had it in your hands, you were using it in day-to-day life. But fullerenes, you will have to imagine a little bit because we are not able to see the actual structure of fullerenes. But did you get the concept? Who is the main architect beyond this? Who is the main architect because of whom the name is given to fullerenes? What is the name of the architect? It is Richard Buckminster Fuller, the entire name, Richard Buckminster Fuller, because of which the structure becomes Buckminster Fullerene. Harald Kroto, Robert Kurl, and Richard Smalley are the ones who were awarded Nobel Prize for more research. The name was given because of this Buckminster Fuller, because he designed the geodesic domes. So this is how the structure of fullerenes looks like. Let's move on to the properties now. What are the properties of fullerenes? Molecules of fullerene, students, are found in buckyballs and bucky tubes. Let's see. Just a minute. This is called as buckyballs and bucky tubes. See here, this is how the bucky tube. This is the bucky tube. Can you all hear me? This is the buckyball. This kind of a structure is also called as the buckyball, and the other structure, these kind of structures are called as bucky tubes. So molecules, no, we don't have to write anything today. We only have to learn. Come on. Molecules of fullerenes are in the form of buckyballs, or either they can be in the form of bucky tubes. There are 30 to 900 carbon atoms in one molecule of fullerene. They are varying in the range of 30 to 900 carbon atoms. Fullerenes are soluble in organic solvents such as carbon disulfide and chlorobenzene. Organic word usually is associated with carbon. So the solutions which contains carbon in them are called as organic solvents, and fullerenes are soluble in organic solvents like carbon disulfide and chlorobenzene. Did you all understand about the properties of fullerenes? Come on, quickly repeat after me. Molecules of fullerenes are found in the form of buckyballs and bucky tubes. There are 30 to 900 carbon atoms in one molecule of a fullerene. Fullerenes are soluble in organic solvents such as carbon disulfide and chlorobenzene. So this is about the properties. Did you all repeat or not? Let me check. Now tell me what are the properties of fullerenes. Come on, who's going to tell me the property of fullerene? First one. Yes, we'll talk about that. Buckyballs and bucky tubes. Okay, very good, Keenan. Molecules of fullerenes are in the form of buckyballs and bucky tubes. Second point. Very good, Ankita. 30 to 900 carbon atoms are found in one molecule of fullerene. Very good, Aditi. Third one. What are they soluble in? soluble in organic solvents. Which are the organic solvents they are soluble in? Very good, Jagtap. Carbon disulfide and chlorobenzene. Yes, I'll show you the structure of buckyballs and bucky tubes once again. See here. These are buckyballs and these are bucky tubes. Clear? Now let's see what is the actual use. इतना पढ़ तो लिया fullerenes के बारे में. इसका actual use क्या है? Fullerenes are used as insulators. You know what the meaning of insulators? Yes, which does not allow the flow of electricity. Very good. Fullerenes can be used as insulators, and fullerenes are also used. Can you see the structure of the insulator here? They're also used as the catalyst in water purification. Have you heard about catalyst? Do you know what's a catalyst? Anybody knows what a catalyst is? Okay, I'll tell you. Catalyst basically is such a substance which is when added to the reaction, which increases the rate of the reaction without itself undergoing any change. For example, if I have to do a chemical reaction turning, like I have a compound A and I have to convert it into compound B, but the conversion of A to B takes 12 hours, but I want to increase the speed of the reaction. And increase the speed of the reaction means I want to get the conversion done in 6 hours. So I add something called as catalyst. That catalyst can be any substance. If that, when it will be called as a catalyst? When it increases the speed of the reaction and there will be no change to that substance. For example, in conversion of A to B, we add C, the catalyst. A से B convert होने को 12 hours लग रहा था. अभी catalyst डालने के वजह से सिर्फ 6 hours लगेगा. And the C will have no change. It can easily be taken out in the reaction. So fullerenes can be act as a catalyst in water purification, and at certain temperature, fullerenes also exhibit superconductivity. Have you heard about this term called as superconductivity? Superconductivity is basically where the electrical resistance does not happen. Yes, the electrical resistance does not happen. There's no magnetic fields. It is expelled from the magnetic fields, and these all stuff happens. And at certain temperature, yes, no resistance, that is no flow of electrons. So at certain temperature, fullerenes exhibit superconductivity. All right. So let's quickly read what are the examples of fullerenes, uses of fullerenes. Fullerenes are used as insulators. Fullerenes are used as catalysts in water purification. At certain temperature, fullerenes exhibit superconductivity. Very good. Very nice. Today, my students are very quick in answering questions. You can see superconductivity here, no electrical resistance. So with this, we finish with the crystalline forms of carbon. And the three examples which we discussed under crystalline forms were diamond, graphite, and fullerenes. Shall I just test you by asking a few questions related to properties, uses, and shall I ask a few questions? Okay, chalo, fast. Huh? Let me see who answers first. But please do not tell me, man, I was first. You did not see my name. I also typed. I can only see what is coming to me according to the internet thing. All right. So please don't feel bad. Let us try. Ria, superconductivity means no electrical resistance after certain point. Buckyballs and bucky tubes are the shapes which I had shown you in the slide. That is how the fullerenes look like. Okay. Catalyst is the substance which does not take part in the reaction but increases the speed of the reaction. So the first question is, what is the structure of diamond called as? What is the structure of diamond called as? Okay, Kaushiki, you answered tetragonal. That's it. I need more. Complete answer I want. Nobody is giving me the complete answer. It's not only tetragonal. What is it? Very good. Vaishnavi has told me the entire answer. Tetragonal, three-dimensional structure. Very nice. Tetragonal, three-dimensional structure. Okay. Next point. Harshit, hexagonal is for graphite. Next one.